Hi, my name is Winslaya, and welcome to my Age of Wonders 4 video on why using the Champion Ruler's Action Resetting ability on Reaver Cannons and Magelocks is very strong in manual combat. The action resetting ability that I really like is the upgraded one, Coordinated Command. This jumps effects from one target to another. So, for example, if I wanted to use this cannon to attack these guys and then bring this cannon over here, I can reset them both like so and get a lot of very good value out of this. A few weeks ago, Nadash used command cannons very efficiently in a Saturday skirmish, and that highlighted to me how powerful this combination can be. Since then, I've been wanting to make a video diving deeply into this topic. Essentially, what makes it very strong is that you can use that ability to either move your cannons into a better position to get attacks that would be more valuable than, say, just shooting a single unit, or you can make it so that you can set it up so that you can actually target um, 3 units for 2 rounds of really big damage. If I wanted to, I could have done this earlier before having this cannon shoot its first shot, and then I think it would be generally more efficient to have this cannon fire this way because he can't hit 2 targets this way, whereas this cannon, he can hit 2 targets this way. So generally pretty good. It is also worth mentioning that command has changed quite significantly since the skirmish we did with Nadash. Now there is a cooldown reset block tag associated with this command ability. It used to be that you could reset it with the snapshot ability that would reset all of your cooldowns, and there was also, I think, a Weaver ability that could interact with this so that you were able to just reset your other units a little bit more frequently than what was intended. So that is now a little bit different, and they may have changed some other things. I believe at one point this may have been a free action, but I don't know all of the changes off the top of my head. In general, this is still a very strong strategy, even without the reset, though, because as I highlighted earlier, you can just get a lot of damage, and that makes for a very good alpha strike. Cannons are tricky because if they get in an enemy in zone of control, then it's harder to use them. But there are tools in this build, like Abducting Cyclone, that we can use to move units away from our cannons if they were to get closer. So I think, yeah, there's tools that you can use to really get some good value out of cannons, and one of the best ones is probably this coordinated command ability on a champion ruler. It is also worth mentioning that I found the AI has a lot of trouble getting good auto combat results using the faction and the strategies that I've outlined in the video so far. So you may find that you have to step in and do manual combats fairly frequently with this faction. And if you're playing in a multiplayer that doesn't allow for manual combats against the neutral stacks, then you might find that this faction doesn't perform very well in the mid to late game because you probably won't have the snowballing impacts from being able to clear the map that other factions will have been able to accumulate over the course of the game. In this video, we're going to outline a little bit more about what you can do in manual combat to make things go well. I'll also showcase how poorly the AI did in a couple auto combats, and then I think we'll also go over how I leveled this ruler to get the most out of command on Reavers, and a couple general strategies that I have on the map layer to help you accomplish your goals. If you say wanted to use this build in a single player experience, I think that it is a pretty fun and pretty powerful faction to play around with. It just kind of gets old having to jump into the manual combats to try and get a good value out of clearing the map. Now, if we take a second to go back to the beginning of this combat turn, I can demonstrate a couple other things for manual combat that you may want to take into consideration if you're going to be going for the coordinated command strategy. If you want to use this, the coordinate command can only target non-hero units, so you don't want to move your hero into a position expecting that you're going to be able to give them their actions back, and you want to make sure that you reset units units that can do a decent amount with their actions. For example, resetting this tier 1 skeleton is not going to be nearly as useful as resetting the cannons or even the Magelocks, because they have this very valuable breaching effect on a tier 2 unit. That means you can get a lot of value out of just standing them in one position, taking a second to aim, and then firing into the enemy. Whereas if we consider what this Pyromancer can do with its full action, it can apply something that does 10 damage and try and do another 18 damage with another round of attacks, but that's not going to be nearly as valuable as resetting this tier 2 unit, the Magelock. Now let's just take a second to see how the aimed ability actually works here. I know I heard some people talking about what if that allows you to get more than, yeah, it looks like it only applies to aimed once. So yeah, that's worth keeping in mind if you're going to be trying to use the Magelocks like this. Another nice thing about Magelocks is they don't actually have to stand still and use the take aim ability to get an attack like they used to. One thing I could have done is run him forward and then reset him from a position that is close enough for the jumping effect to trigger. For example, I think this is close enough that, yeah, he's within 2 hexes or 3 hexes. So this ability would have been able to jump over to him, allowing him to attack from this hex, reset, take aim from here, and have a much better engage than where he started his turn. Another important consideration here is that coordinated command will end your ruler's turn, so whatever you get out of coordinated command needs to be more valuable than other actions you could be taking. For example, this shot can do 41 damage and apply bleeding to units that are near it, but I would argue that's not a large enough amount of damage and status effects to be more valuable than resetting my cannons, and it's almost on par with resetting the Magelocks, but this ruler has been leveled up to level 12, so they do have a lot of things that make the consideration a little bit more complicated than when you're just starting to unlock Magelocks. I think generally once you start to unlock Magelocks, they can be the units that you reset, and by using them, they'll keep your ruler generally a little bit further away from the enemy and a little bit safer, allowing them to get more turns where they can do things like deal damage or bring other units onto the battlefield or reset other people's actions. So keep that all in mind when you're trying to farm the map and fight other players. Alright, I think we're about ready to observe this auto combat where I lose a unit here. And I do think that it is worth mentioning that the 1.3 beta did change things quite significantly, so I may have been having worse results in auto combat as a extension of some of those changes, but I actually don't think that's the case here. I think if we observe this, we'll be able to see what went wrong pretty quickly, and then I'll showcase how I can get through this combat pretty easily without much HP loss in a manual combat before going over at least one more auto combat with this general faction. So as we can see here, he's going to start off by shooting this unit right there. Put this on fast. They're just moving forward and taking some pretty aggressive positions, and they just ran the mercenary right up into the faces of all these units, which can work out if I think you take out their melee unit first. I believe that when I did this at one point earlier, this wasn't a particularly challenging combat, and as you can see, they keep missing here. So we'll just let them go through the motions here. We'll see that they lose this unit because they just brought it a little bit too far forward, a little bit too early, when the enemy will come to you. You don't have to go to them. And that put them all in danger, more danger than they really needed to be. Yeah, we're getting close to the end of the combat now. You can see this guy's almost gone. It was still close. Even with the misplays, it was still close. So yeah, I think I can win this without much in terms of HP loss. Try and not go too quickly so that I don't make too many mistakes. Now let's retry it. I actually do agree with this general strategy, but I think I may take out their melee guy if we can. Just place our guys nearby. They come to us. There's no need for us to go to them. We outrange them by a lot. They're bleeding. Yeah, you stay there, you're bleeding. Oh, right, and spells. We got this. This is going to help us out a lot. If they can't shoot us, they're kind of stuck, immobilized. So we just kind of want to focus down the front guy here, I think. You can stay where you are. You're at a pretty safe distance there. Tempting. Let's try and target the ones that make the most sense here by figuring out what I can shoot easily. Oh yeah, this guy, 100% is bleeding now. Just see if we can kill this archer. I'll make him sad. And they won't be able to get much damage. Just block off this path a little bit. Yeah, it's fine. So as you can see, I'm getting much better results here. Oh no, my archer. Yeah, this guy's in enough danger that I might pull him back, but I don't know if it's necessary. Now, obscured. There's a lot of stuff that are making it so it's harder for them to do the damage they want to. I'm okay with just wasting mana on this. I think I had enough sitting around. One guy's immobilized, so if I wanted to, I could park this guy next to two guys, and I don't think this will put him in defensive mode, so I don't really want to drive back the enemy. Go ahead and assume that this is fine. Nice miss. I'll take it. And am I in a position where I can start taking some riskier things? Maybe. Yeah, because then I can command reset him if I wanted to. Go ahead and do it. Ooh. I'm making mistakes already. Have you go here. Go, good job. And we'll have this guy take aim. Seems fine. So much better results. We could probably go to another combat now, given as they're just kind of gonna run out of HP pretty quickly here. Good, you win. Oh, are we? This is back. Okay, good, good. Okay, I just found this combat on turn 26 where I needlessly lose a unit to this stack, which admittedly has a Scald who can inflict insanity, and the Gremlins can make it so that your units turn around and have their defense modes cancelled, making it pretty easy for them to take a lot of damage from flanking attacks. But I remember when I was clearing this whole general area, I just kept losing skeletons in fights where I had way more army power than the defending stacks. And this one is just, it's going to be a more interesting fight to watch anyway. So let's go ahead and see which of my units I lose here. It's this one, this Magelock, that is got some experience, so it's not too big of a deal. It would be far worse to lose somebody with 79 experience, and I remember at one point losing this unit to auto combats as well as this unit. And a big reason why I'm bringing the Magelocks and this Crocodile is that the coordinated command ability in auto combat gets targeted on support units and lower tier ones about as often as it does on these more useful units. So generally speaking, you want to bring some good higher tier damage dealers for coordinated command to activate on. But yeah, let's jump into this and watch the replay. Just see what the AI does before I jump in here and give it a go. I don't remember actually having any issues with this fight because all I really need to worry about are these gremlins. If I can kill those off quickly, then the fight shouldn't be too tricky. And the Scald, while scary, isn't going to be able to attack enemies that are fairly far away from him, meaning we just need to not get too close too quickly. Now, what did he start with? Looks like nothing useful on the hero. In fact, you just brought all these guys forward to get targeted by attacks. And there you can see he's getting flanked, taking a bunch of damage that just dies in the first turn combat. Alright, yeah, there, look. The Scald's almost dead. He's yes, you did not need to lose that unit. Let's put this on faster speed so that they go through this quickly. That gremlin's dead. This guy's now in defense mode. Because they can do fire damage, the Pestilence Crocodile is in a pretty dangerous position here. I think that generally speaking, he should probably stay back and just finish off units from a safe position in this combat. But the AI, they've gone and presented their flank to the enemy. Good job. Wait, no, okay, there they go. They're moving in. This is the right time to move in, actually. The fight's pretty much over. Looks like, yeah, if I wanted to, I'll spawn in some zombies using infected. That's gonna actually really help with giving our Magelocks the ability to get good attacks off without endangering themselves. All right, fight's over. Let's go ahead and try it ourselves. So we're gonna let them come to us. We've set up our hero so he works like a Magelock. He's got really good range, and then once people get into range, they're probably not gonna last very long. All right. Is it me, or why wouldn't you do that? Yeah, do this. Try and set bleeding on these other guys. He came closer too. Wow, that's very nice of him. So if I wanted to, I can take some 15% shots, or I can just kind of hang back and let them come to me. I think we should probably hang back and let them come to us. Place you here and hope that we don't get insanity in it on any of our really useful units, because that could be bad. But next turn we're going to infect some guys and try and just weaken the enemy that way. You're not decaying, right? Yeah. Ooh, you got a crit for 21 damage? Turn around, my friend. Alright. So locking that guy down with the barrage would be nice, but I think I'd rather just get a unit here, and that's going to be pretty good. You can get the attacks to land. I'm going to assume that if I aim here, we get some decent attacks on some of you. It's pretty annoying, actually. That was a pretty low damage attack. May need to boost up my accuracy from closer range to get the damage that we want here. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're actually at a pretty annoying distance, so let's go ahead and have you shoot that way. Tiny and obscured, long range. It's a lot. It's a lot. Alright, we're going to have you take 40% that gets boosted up to higher accuracy, while having this guy take a 60% that gets boosted to higher accuracy. And hope that that works, I guess. Ah! Yeah, thought that might happen. I was meant to infect you first. Is this going to work out? We'll be fine, I think. Although, it would be a shame if he dies somehow. Alright, so we can kill here, or we can bring in our gremlin friend. Try and do some damage. I am not loving that this guy's alive. Yeah, I think this will work. You come over here, bring in a nice juicy target for them to look at. Look, there's a target. Leave us alone. No, I said leave him alone. Oh boy. Alright, so we did take more damage than we needed to, but it looks like hopefully we can keep this guy alive while getting some good kills on this side. Yeah, thought that might happen. You take a aimed shot on probably the one that's lower on HP, because that doesn't have great targets here. Well, now your obstacle just got destroyed, so now you're dead. Good. Good. Oh, if I place you on one side, yeah, I can't get him on the other side. Got it. Probably have him just finish off this guy here. Alright, no need to draw this out. You take a shot like that. Well, this guy is going to try and hurt this dude. Pestilent Crocodile hopefully is safe right here. And just to make him super sad, we can hurt him that way. Yeah, you're not decaying. We're good. Even insane my guy. Good. Good. Oh! Have this guy take a 45% shot from somewhere, right? Oh, there we go. We got him. Okay, I just found another combat where I lose units unnecessarily. This time we're on turn 30 and we're just about to clear out this ritual circle. As you can see, we almost have twice as much strength as they do according to the numbers here. But when we go in here, we lose 2 out of our 8 units. Of course, they are completely unexperienced skeletons that are broke off from the main part of the army, but they didn't really need to get lost in this combat. Let's go ahead and watch how the AI does it. I actually haven't watched this, but I have a feeling I know exactly what they did. They felt like because their numbers were big enough that they could approach the enemy, and these guys just got too close and got picked off by the very mobile units that we have on the enemy side. I wouldn't imagine these pyromancers had a giant influence on this these two units not surviving very long, but they do have a damage channel that allows them to delete skeletons pretty quickly, pretty easily. All right, so it is doing this in an interesting way. It is bringing over some units to support these guys. They haven't charged in quite yet, but I have to imagine that just happens next turn instead of this turn. We can turn up the speed on this. I think I remember having to take over this fight manually and thinking it's not like a particularly challenging fight. We don't need to approach them. Yeah, see, you don't need to do that. That right there is completely unnecessary. Goodbye, skeleton. Goodbye, other skeleton. I mean, they're not that valuable. It's just if you spend souls on a unit like that, you don't want them to die immediately for like no value. And as we can see here, the enemy doesn't have a bunch of defenses, so when I take over to try and redo this fight, we'll see that it's not particularly challenging, especially if you bring in zombies using the infection ability or the necrotize spell here. Alright, let's go ahead and retry this manually. Alright, leader. Maybe you just go hide behind the terrain that they can't pass by, because, like, why wouldn't you? Oh, right, AoEs, I guess. But, like, am I that worried about that? I don't think so. Now, this guy can hang out here. This guy can hang out here to see if we can kind of distract them that way. They're kind of breaking it into two groups, and I'm going to take advantage of this group of three. Try and take out the Pyromancer's damage. There, he's not going to be able to do nearly as much now. Let's have you take a shot here for 45%. Yep, good. He's closer. I love this place. See if we can get this guy actually necrotized. Nope, not with that one at least. There we go. Got him with that guy. And because this guy is a AoE guy, we need to not group up quite so closely here. Take another shot from here. 5% doesn't seem too bad. Hey, we got it. Alright, you go there. Not trying to throw these guys away for free, so we're going to take this guy back here. This guy back here. That should be fine. Alright, kill my zombie. It's fine. That's what he's there for. Ah, burning, no. That is a bit of burning. We do need to take care of these units now. Alright, what can you do? 14 damage. You can do a lot more. Oh, I forgot you have this thing called Go for the Kill, which allows you to do a lot more damage. Alright. Have a good attack here, it looks like. Good. Got that attack off. I'd like to see it. Wonderful. Take a 60% from further up if we wanted to. Or we just know that we're going to get the kill here and say that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. Lovely. Yes. Yeah. Go ahead and have you do this. Care that much about him, but I just don't think he needs to take more damage than necessary. We'll bring you here, here, and that's fine for now. Let's see where they go now. Yeah, fine. They came closer, which means we should have more shots on them now. Excellent. There, we got that one. Now, let's go for the kill on you. Where you take aim, and you just basically delete this guy. Good. We did it. very little damage. We took some damage on the Magelocks that wasn't super necessary, but it's better results than the auto combat. Now that we're done looking at the auto combats, we're ready to dive into how I made this faction and this ruler to try and get the most out of command on Reavers. So I did to take elusive and athletics because I figured that it would be good to build my ruler a bit like a Magelock, and it would be good to have Magelocks who can move around the map. Having athletics means they can generally move one more hex, and having elusive means that if somebody's able to get into zone of control with them, they can move away and take a lot less damage from those attacks of opportunity, as well as if you have melee units, they're going to take a lot less damage from retaliation attacks. Sharp Eyes just let me kind of scout out the map a little bit more, and then I had Ruthless Raiders to help me just kind of get more gold for my units, and Draft to help me build out my Magelock specifically a little bit quicker. I also really liked the idea of having Great Builder because that meant I could get the higher city infrastructure a little bit quicker, and I could not only get the Magelocks a little bit faster, but these cannons. The cannons require a little bit of infrastructure, and you also need war spoils from burning down either free cities or fighting other players. And in order to get enough for that, I burnt down 2 free cities. If we go here, we can see that the requirement to build, it's not that city actually, it's this one. The requirement to build a Magelock cannon is 100 war spoils, and while I don't know the exact number you get from burning down a city, if we just, yeah, auto combat through this, we'll be able to see that message pretty quickly, pretty easily. Just needs a second. Yeah, good job. No losses. You can dismiss this. I like having the skeletons because they can act as the front line, although they can get targeted by the coordinated command, which is an issue. Yeah, this would give us 140 war spoils. You may get more or less depending on the size of the city. I can't remember exactly how that works, but with that out of the way, let's take a look at the um, level ups I actually took on this ranger. As you can see, I went for coordinated command here, which we've discussed. It's the right path from the basic command. If you want to go for one that's a free action and only targets one unit, you can take this one, but with the cooldown reset being blocked, it doesn't seem like it has that many uses anymore. I don't think it's nearly as useful as it used to be when you could reset this, and I think your other free action cooldowns with the thing underneath snapshot. I'm not entirely sure where that one is in here, but it is, yes, killing an enemy resets all ability cooldowns can only be triggered once per turn, which means like in theory you could go for the kill twice in one turn, as well as snapshot twice in one turn. You would just need to plan out your turn accordingly. The devs seem to be aware of that and are trying to make that type of interaction a little bit less powerful, but you can still do some pretty cool stuff like I highlighted earlier in the video. I also took this main true shot, the thing that acts a bit like a sniper shot that always hits, is going to breach a bit like my Magelock rifle, which I have for my primary weapon here. I haven't upgraded the tier 1. I still have the tier 1 rifle on turn 30. I'm going to say 32 or 31 right now. We have Big Game Hunter, allows me to take out the bigger units quicker. I like it a lot. And then we can get extra range and I think crit chance, as well as just general damage if my hero is not engaged in melee at the beginning of their turn. I like getting regeneration from killing units here because this build doesn't have a lot of sources of healing. And then slip away is also quite nice, just as a general utility. But I really took it mostly to get to go for the kill without having to go down these other paths. These other trees are okay, they have some nice stuff in it, but it only took 1, 2, 3 more extra points in this path to get to go for the kill, which is generally quite nice. I like Awaken Earth. I think that performs well in auto combat, as well as the still as stone, and then immobilizing presence is neat because it will apply slowed to adjacent enemies at the beginning of my turn, which takes away their retaliations. It just makes it so my hero can disengage a little bit more easily. And yeah, I think you could have taken Ritualist. The Ritualist heroes are really good at healing up the other units and supporting them in general, so I think that might be a better support build, but I wanted to make something that would perform extremely well in manual combat, and I found that those support heroes After a certain level, they're not nearly as good as the ones that are more or offensively focused. And yet, at the same time, I knew that if I'm using coordinated command, my ruler is going to be a little bit further away from the front line, and having them have like ranged weapons that allow them to operate from 6 or 7 hexes away would be generally pretty good. The Death Knight is another unit that is fairly good at clearing the map. I've been hearing that a lot of people are a pretty big fan of this hero over here, and I think that your main ruler could get a lot of value out of the necromancy tree here with the command reset, because the um, raise undead ability lets you get guys with full actions if you are not reviving an undead but bringing in a new zombie. This guy comes in with full actions, and then you can reset them or do some other cool things to just get some fairly good value that will allow you to clear the map efficiently. The nice thing about these units that get brought in is they'll get targeted a lot. They're generally pretty weak, so the AI says I can do a lot of damage to him. I'm going to target him, and then your main units that deal damage, like your Magelocks, they'll be safer. They'll take less damage. They'll be able to deal more damage, and you'll be able to snowball that to clear the map more efficiently. While I've already spent a bit of time talking about the general strategies I used on this map, I did want to go into a bit more detail on the tomes that I used and the general approach I had for this playthrough. I figured that I wasn't going to need a lot of research and that I would need a lot of gold and draft, so that's where a lot of my infrastructure ended up going towards. And when it comes to the tomes, I decided that I really needed extra bodies from the Tome of Necromancy and the Purging Arrows from the Tome of Enchantment. The Purging Arrows works really well on the Magelocks and the Cannons because it allows them to deal a lot of extra damage against Magic Origin units, and there are a lot of units in the game with the Magic Origin tag. The fact that it removes a status effect from the enemy isn't bad either, and the fact that this is increased for non-repeating attacks means I think that you do more than 10% extra damage from the Purging Arrows. So that adds up pretty quickly and pretty nicely. I also like having summons like this Copper Golem to act as a frontline unit for those Magelocks and the Cannons. Sure, they do die quite frequently, and it's hard to get them to evolve into the Iron Golem. They are a nice little unit to be able to bring in there with your casting points. I wasn't using my casting points on much else in this playthrough. Awakened Tools is a pretty decent thing to try and throw on your cities relatively early. So I did actually start with Tome of Enchantment, then take Tome of Necromancy. The nice thing about Tome of Necromancy is it lets you get souls, which you can use to bring back heroes from the dead. You can animate heroes that you've killed, or you could try and just build them up for some other spells in the game. Like there are some nice later ones in the Tome of Souls that allows you to dispel stats effects while also strengthening your units and giving them more health. It's very powerful. So you may be wanting to save those souls for those types of interactions, or for maybe reanimating a bone dragon. I believe that's pretty expensive, but as you saw in a lot of the combats, I was getting a lot of value out of the Necrotize spell, and one of the annoying things about the Reavers is they have a spell that's not very valuable in the auto combats. The immobilizing uh, AoE does a very little bit of damage, and if you don't get the immobilize, it's hard to get any value out of it. So until you get spells like Necrotize, I would generally recommend you leave mana turned off. But if you're going into manual combat, it's fine to use a little bit of mana to try and make the battles go a little bit more smoothly. The Tome of Winds is a particularly strong tome to be using with cannons and magelocks. While magelocks have to deal with accuracy, accuracy is not a very big issue for them, and having +1 range on them will allow them to engage from a much safer distance, and having +1 range on the cannons is really, really good because their attack is just always hits, which means they're now going to have, I want to say, no longer um, 4 range on their first hex that they can target, but now 5, and that means they can hit not just 5 hexes in front of them, but two more in front of the hex that they are targeting. So that could hit up to 7 hexes in front of you, dealing damage to potentially 3 units, like we saw in the combat earlier. And yeah, that's pretty much everything I wanted to say about this faction. If you've got any thoughts or comments, feel free to let me know in this comment section below. I'll see you around. Have a good one.